just to make you repeat yourself,
Yeah.
and I sort of know the answer, but because you teach but out of Rogers Place,
Yeah.
so
I didn't understand this the first
Yeah.
time. You told me it like 3 times. Didn't
Yeah,
understand
no,
the first two.
So I officially work for the Center for Diverse Learners. Okay,
Mhm.
it's out of St. Gabriel School in
Right.
like southeast Edmonton, kind
Okay.
of by Capilano.
yeah,
And then I teach out of Rogers Place. My program's called Personal Pathways, and it's for kids with anxiety, depression, ADD, and just other areas where they would have mental health challenges that would keep them out of the traditional classroom, or where they wouldn't
Right.
have the same success.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a youth service coordinator that connects the kids with the community. I have a TABT, which is a therapeutic assistant behavioral therapy. So yeah,
Just like the actor.
I know
Yeah,
the
okay.
acronyms are. We have so many acronyms where I work. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And they're specialized just to work with behaviors, and they have a more of an education on the behavioral side of thing.
Okay.
And then in the class we have an EBS, which is an emotional behavior specialist that comes in, learning coaches. We have psychologists on staff,
Yeah.
a social worker that's in the class about once a week, and then like our admin. So it's a little different.
Okay.
But
So, is it almost? There's kind of a team of you, I guess. Like,
Yes.
there's man-to-man coverage, more or less,
So
or closer to that, right?
we have I work with 2 ladies right now.
Yeah,
So the youth service coordinator and the TABT full time,
gotcha.
and then the other people come in sort of. They have their days. So
Oh,
like
okay,
on
I see.
Wednesday we have our EBS this year.
Okay.
On it's looking like Mondays we're going to have our social worker and so on, and they come in. They all have different skills. They all do different things within the classroom. We have about 11 kids right now.
Yeah,
And so it's grades 4 to 7, my program.
Right.
So all in the same room, so it provides its own challenges trying to teach
That would be
Yeah.
all those
Interesting,
different
yeah.
grades at the
Interesting.
same time. But at the same time, you just you teach a concept, and then where you assign the work, it's a different assignment for a grade 4 than
right.
a grade 7.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that
And,
was sort of my next question. So, do you just have math, and then everyone's kind of learning
Yeah.
each tier or stage?
Basically, so I'll when we have math, for example, I'll teach a concept, and let's say it's multiplication. So I'll look at like single digit to 2-digit for the grade 4s, and then it's scales up to whatever integers or
Sure.
something to that effect for the grade 7s, and so it can be a lot of planning, but at the same time I don't have the same demands as the traditional classroom, so
Interesting.
it makes it a little easier. And then
Is this a program that's? It must be relatively new.
It is
slash
new.
recent.
Yeah, it is. So at Rogers, this is the 3rd year. It's the 4th year of the program, so they're still creating
yeah,
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember that.
and so it was under the umbrella of Genesis, and then the school St. Margaret's took it over
Okay.
last year. So this is their 2nd year with basically the Pathways program.
Okay.
So it's a lot of learning, a lot of new.
No kidding.
Even in the
Yeah.
Pathways program, there's me and one other teacher that are returning from last year, and then everyone else is new. So
Oh, really? Okay.
it's
Some new teachers as well.
yeah, lots of new
faces.
teachers, and
Yeah.
it's I think the team we have now will be around for a little while.
Mhm,
Seems like we're all gelling pretty well, and it's,
Why,
it's nice.
Why Rogers? Did they just have the space for it, or?
The age-old question? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
When it comes down to it, I don't. I think there's just a unique opportunity to put a classroom in a building where we have access to Grant McEwen, we have access to the Oil Kings and the Oilers, and then just to be in a unique environment. The other programs are in the rec center, so there's 2 in Clairview, 2 in Meadows.
Right. Okay.
And
Did you ever
then-
go to high school?
No.
High school was like at
Yeah.
Skyreach Center. I guess it would have been Skyreach
Okay.
Center.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it was only like a week long program or something.
Yeah.
You would have each individual elementary come in, and you would measure the concourse of
Yeah.
Skyreach
what?
Yeah.
Center.
You
So-
see
Damn,
how
I never
many-
did that. What the hell?
See how many seats are in
Yeah.
Rogers Place, and you
Yeah.
learn about the community within Rogers Place or Rexall and what makes it work.
Right.
So
Right.
we're actually really fortunate this year. We get to be a part of Oilers School, so
There you go.
or Ice School. So,
Oh, okay.
but we're gonna do it a
Yeah.
little different because we're on site when they have time within their schedule. Where let's say a concert's coming in, and it'll take up a lot of space on Thursday and Friday, and the Oilers are playing Monday, Tuesday, and they can't do Ice School. They'll bring us in on let's say the Wednesday, and they'll do our week
Nice.
a little more broken up, which will be actually, I think, really nice way for
Yeah.
my kids there
Interesting.
to
I think they started it when I was in grade 4. We were like one of the first schools. To,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It would have been
Interesting.
back when Tommy Sallow was the goalie.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
forever
Doug
ago.
Waits like around.
Oh, yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
actually, maybe not that long.
I think it was like Georges Laroque actually came and like talked to the,
Okay.
to the classroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how long ago it
But
was.
he always did that sort of stuff, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like super in the
Community
community
guy,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And then, so the less structured classroom, let's call
Yes.
it that, or less traditional, whatever
Yeah.
word you
Yeah.
prefer to use, I suppose.
Yeah.
Does that? How did it sort of come about that is the best environment, I guess, for?
Well, that's a good question.
And maybe you don't know the answer. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of curious how this program sort of came about for. Because generally, yeah, someone with
Yeah.
ADD or anxiety or
Yeah.
something in that.
Yeah, like
You know what I mean?
like the traditional setting is probably
Yeah,
not the
Would
most
be absolutely
optimal.
the worst place for that sort of
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
person, right?
absolutely.
So
yeah.
So there's, and I don't know, like, I mean, somebody must have been sitting in a room deciding these things. I
Yeah.
would love to know, like,
yeah,
and I've talked about it with just my team and other teachers, like, who decided, like, let's make a program called Personal Pathways. And
yeah, yeah.
It really just, and it's a program of choice, so kids aren't forced to go. They get to choose to
Oh,
go,
okay, yeah.
which is a nice feature. Because then if it's not working there, they have the choice to move on.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting.
But it just takes, I want to say, like, kids that just aren't having success. So one of the guys, I mean, we're really encouraged to get to know the kids before we read the files, and I think that's good practice for any teacher. And as I got to know this one boy, he was super kind. Like, he's in Scouts. He was, I mean, really like a model citizen for a classroom. And
Yeah,
I'm like, why is he here?
right.
And I couldn't figure it out, so I go in his file and I look, and it's like pages and pages, and I'm like, whoa. So I start reading it, and he would get so anxious being in the crowd. So
Oh,
you go
okay,
to school with 300 kids, he gets so anxious he would literally run away. So some of
Oh,
his
okay, yeah.
information that you're reading, you're like, whoa, he's just like taking off, running down the street, and you're like, or he would get to school and he'd go and hide under the principal's desk because he just got so anxious about everyone around him. And so, I mean, one, to see where and how far he came, and then just to see the challenges that he was going through in a classroom.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of learning, whereas in the smaller class, more support, he just felt more at home. He felt safer, and he was able to let his guard down. And then he came into the classroom, and you'd never know. You'd never know that he was so troubled when he was in his traditional community school.
Yeah.
Is the goal to reintegrate afterwards, or?
Pathways is a little bit of a mix.
Okay.
So we've had some kids that have come and made huge headway, and they've transitioned back. Some kids, like with the discussions with parents, they want them. So we go all the way up to grade 12 now.
Okay.
So not at my site, but as you move into other sites, so Clairview, and we have one at Rundle Park as well. So they're high school, and so some kids will stay the course, and they'll stay in pathways. There's just the class size, the environment works and creates success for them. Some will come for a year, some will come for 6 months. It's really up to the family to decide that. So,
Okay.
I mean, I've got a few kids right now I'd love to keep for the next 5 years. They're in grade 7 and they're just awesome kids. And
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we cap out at grade 7, so they'll have to go to a new program next year. But then it's cool because I get my grade 4s and 5s, and I'll get to work with them for 3-4 years, and so you actually get to see that development of their person.
Yeah.
And you do work with the knowledge as well, but we really focus on building those connections with the kids and really trying to adjust them into an environment where if they want to, let's say, go back into the traditional stream, we're trying to set them up so that they have the tools in place, so if they're feeling a certain way, they know what to do, how to seek help.
Right.
If they need a fidget. I've never seen in my life fidget spinners and all those gadgets that kids use.
Yeah.
I'll be talking, and literally 4 or 5 kids will have their heads down and they're playing with their fidgets, but they're listening.
Right.
So if I were to just call on them and be like, what did I just say? They'll tell you verbatim what you said.
Right.
But they just need that hands-on.
Yeah, the tactile or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, so...
Interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see fidgets and all those tools being used properly.
Right,
because coming from a traditional school where every kid's got a fidget spinner and they're just
give
like...
me that,
and you're taking them away to kids
and you
that...
have 4 desk drawers full of them. And,
Yeah, I've got my treasure chest is just their own stuff of giving it back to them at the end of the week
absolutely.
or whatever.
But
so it really is decided by the family. Some kids, I would love to keep them in the program with me because I think they can make a lot of headway and they can make some big gains. Some have a lot of supports outside and they just need that next step. So just like you would, if you're moving schools because you moved, or you're moving schools because you need a fresh look.
Yeah.
And then you'd go maybe for grade 6 or 7, and then you go to another school, and that's where you'll continue. So I think some kids, just really benefit from that 1 or 2 year change, like maybe out of a grade 6 where they just weren't gelling in their community, come for grade 6, and then let's say in grade 7 they could go, or we had one that came for grade 7, went to a traditional school, grade 8, and if that's what the family decides, great, but just again setting them up with the tools so that when they move into whatever community school, they're just ready to go.
Right. Especially schools kind of get bigger and bigger as you go up and up too. Right?
Usually,
generally.
So.
Different experience than the high school, eh?
Yeah. So we still cap out at 15 in the high school. So we cap out at 15 for every program.
15
kids
per
student,
classroom.
Per classroom.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're in a high school classroom, there's still only 15 kids, which for some is really nice, and they can just work through more on the mental health side of things because of the other professionals on top of their schooling, instead of having that huge social class that they're mixed in with 300 or 800 or 900. Or if you're at some of those big schools like O'Leary, 1,600 kids in your school. So.
Oh man.
I think Shep was like 2,000.
I want to say Shep and JP were about 2,000 when we were
I think
there,
so.
Right? So
we were tiny at that.
which is just
it's
kind of crazy to think about, just all those kids together and the social dynamics, and kids are generally speaking fairly mean before they're adults, right? So I don't know, it's
and that's part of it, is like some of these kids, they just, once they get around other people. They want to impress. They want to show off. When you add like a group of boys and then you throw in a few girls, you get your alphas starting to peacock and getting ready to show how tough they are or whatever.
Certainly. Yeah.
And I'm sure vice versa. I can't really speak too much on the girl side of things because I wasn't
fair
a girl. But so it just takes a lot of that out of it, and they just get more of that one-on-one time with the teacher and really get to build within the small community.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's
cool.
This is my second year. I mean, the things I've seen, as I told you, Josh, it's incredible the growth that I've seen in some of these kids and how they're able to push past some of their challenges.
Yeah.
And I share the one example of one boy. It took basically till the end of the year, and I think it was the second last day or something before he put up his hand and answered in front of the class.
Right.
We were a class of 12, so we had those kids all year long.
Yeah.
So that was, but this year when he came in, it was like couldn't get him to stop talking. And so on one side you're like, I'm trying to teach, you got to stop talking, but on the other side you're like, this is really good. He's good. Talking.
Yeah.
So you have some different standards for him because you want him to continue to talk. You don't want to shut it down and have him go back into that into that little shell, and you want to keep him
absolutely encourage it, but in a healthy way, I guess, right? So so do you think, and I guess this is a loaded question and you're a teacher currently, but would you perhaps say kids in general would benefit from some sort of less structured classroom sort of thing? Obviously, we all need a basic level of reading, rhyme, and arithmetic, but I have my qualms with the traditional education system, and I'm an adult now, so I'm allowed to have these opinions, right? But I think people are aware there's some sort of flaws. It's when you actually research the history of the traditional school system, it's very strange of how it came about, right? So, and then obviously kids like that with those sort of needs, I'm not saying they should be mixed with everyone else by any means, but do you see where I'm going? I do think, I mean, ultimately if we could have every single one of our kids in the Pathways program transition back, like that would be awesome. Well, I really love this environment. I don't know when it comes down to the traditional stream, like I know they're getting away from a lot of rote learning, and it's trying to create an environment with a lot more like critical thinking skills. I'm always, I don't know, a little confused on the topic in the sense of, on one hand you provide a lot more information as the traditional stream. You get your math, you get your science, you get your social. On the other hand, by the time even my kids, anyone in my class right now, gets to grade 12 and is looking to join the workforce, the jobs that they will be starting don't exist. How can I teach to that? True.
So
very true.
And right now I think what I try to do in my teaching practice is teach skills for basically an open education. There are some skills like math where 5 times 5 is going to be 25 no matter how you look at it, and you want to teach that foundation so you can look at grouping. Even when I was traveling over the summer between the 4 countries I went to, they all had different currencies, and they all traded off of the American currency. So when I was calculating a lot of stuff, it was calculating to American, then calculating from American to that country of origin's currency. And so I was making 2 or 3 calculations to figure out, okay, how much is this $5 that I'm spending, how much is it actually worth in Canadian? And so those are valuable skills that I think everyone needs to learn.
Yes.
But then it gets tricky and complicated because, like, when I was a kid, I didn't have the internet even to Google something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just starting to get going, but we had encyclopedias.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they feel Stone Age, you know, and it's, if you had a good encyclopedia set, it'd be maybe $500, and
Yeah.
it was a nice thing on your bookshelf, and if you needed research, you would look up in the encyclopedia.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, as I'm teaching lessons, we can fact check as we go along.
Yeah.
So, kid, if they have a question, I don't quite have the answer, I'm like, hang on, let's look it up together.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
yeah, so I'll
Yeah.
pull out my phone. Crazy thing I just discovered in my classroom, I have a TV. I can screencast to my TV,
so they can see.
So we can look it up together, and I can show them the skills of how to problem solve.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where I've focused more of my teaching.
Yeah.
Is how to find the information you want.
Right.
When it comes to, like, do I agree with traditional classrooms or not? That's a hard question to answer, just because a traditional classroom, there are, I think, a lot of positives to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at a school like St. Joe's, where they have a big open learning floor, and you go to a lecture,
Yeah.
almost like a university, but then the majority of your day is spent on a learning floor. You're doing modules.
Yeah.
So I think for some children, they'll really benefit from that environment.
Yeah.
To have more access to environments like that, I think would be beneficial, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I still think there's a very good
Yeah.
use for the traditional stream, because some kids just, they need that structure.
Yeah.
They need to come in at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and it's math, then language arts, then lunch, then social, and then they get their spare.
Yeah.
And that's where I think getting more of a mix might be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think you'd have to start it almost in kindergarten.
Well, yeah, because they're kind of that, oh, should we change the education system? Well, part of the far side of that would be total anarchy at schools, which just wouldn't work either, right? So you would probably need kids to grow up with it, so to say, right? You couldn't just change it. For kids in grade 11 today, all right, starting next year, grade 12, we have this crazy it would just be a shit show, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
I think that kids obviously learn like differently, right?
Yeah.
Like you have your kinesthetic, like your guys who actually have to be doing it.
Yeah.
You have the visual, you have the listeners and everything. So, and I mean, traditionally it's a little bit more difficult for, I think, like younger boys get hit pretty hard with it, because I mean you got the like, they're active, right? Like they want to be out there running around and to be like in
jumping off the tallest thing on the playground or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
but to be in like a classroom where you're just like, no, sit still, Johnny. Like, I need to teach you this history of how the settlers came to Canada or something, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's difficult. What you were saying though is like, I feel that if you would still kind of that love of learning, like the continual process of I really enjoy this, so I'm gonna continue. Like, school doesn't end in grade 12, right? And nor does it end in university or anything. So
I think that's well said. Kind of encourage the, does this topic interest you? Like, here's how you go find out more information, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Or does this topic interest you? Now, really dive in. Just like go head first into that thing, you know.
And even with, does it interest you? No? Okay, well, let's look at why doesn't it interest you? And then let's look at what can you do, where can we find, because we all have to do things in our lives that we don't absolutely love to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So how can we work around this difficult thing that, as we view it, we're struggling because we don't want to do it and we have no interest and we put it off, but we need to get through that. And so actually, one thing that I'm excited about this year is a lot of topics in science and social I'm going to take, and I'm basically going to put on the board and just say, what do we want to learn about? And then from what they pick, I can say, okay, and then I'll tailor the curriculum to match those needs, and then we'll dive deep into those those outcomes, and then I can focus on that, and my hope is exactly that inspires their love of learning, and they go, wow, that was a lot of fun to learn about this, and maybe from that they learn about topic A, and from topic A they want to learn more about it, and it goes deeper and deeper, and again, that's those careers that don't exist, that if I can inspire that love to learn, then we can foster that, and then hopefully as they become adults, they find things that they just love to do, and then they'll become passionate, they'll become just experts in those fields, and really provide a great service in whatever they wanted to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I think I always I call it to myself, I guess, like synthetic knowledge.
Yeah.
So basically kind of problem solving, critical thinking, like your ability to absorb information and not recite it, but like use it, and then use it to the next topic, etc. Right? So if you learn how this microphone works, you can now learn, this is actually a relatively basic one. You can now, once you have an understanding of it, now you learn how to use more advanced ones, etc. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think too, to the people that are making their careers right now on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you look at like, that guy that's Ninja.
Yeah,
sure.
The Twitch
Fortnite
streamer.
guy.
The Fortnite guy, and it's like, I mean, most of my kids, I won't say all of them because I know not all of them, but most of my kids, if they could be him, it's like when I grew up, I wanted to be Wayne Gretzky.
Right.
They want to be Ninja.
Yeah.
And that guy's got a pretty healthy career. He makes a lot of money, and he does what he loves to do.
Yeah,
so it's like by all means, go for it and enjoy. I think that's ultimately what is most important. Is you want to find something that you love to do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe playing video games is a bit benign, but
here nor there.
Hey, it's still a career.
Absolutely. So. Well, it is now, and to us and generations before us, it would seem so strange.
It's pretty funny because we're like those damn kids.
Yeah, but I was actually gonna. It's funny you say the YouTube thing, because as you say that, I kind of was thinking of the question is how many kids want to be YouTubers? Like it's all of them, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Versus, when we were in grade 4 to 7, maybe you wanted to be a rock star or a movie star, which is kind of the same idea, right?
I think it really is. It's more open to everyone. Whereas, to get into acting, to get into elite sports, I mean, hockey. Let's be real. You got to be wealthy to play hockey.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have to have the passion. You have to have the right coaches. And there's a lot of steps that go into that. But like a kid's ability to dance, well, little Billy might be a rock star dancer, but now he can put it on YouTube, show that, and share those gifts, and be discovered.
Yeah.
Whereas before, if you're, I'll use Craig McTavish as my example. A lot of people, I don't know how he's respected in the hockey community, but if we look at the Oilers over the last 10 years, when he was in charge, when he was the coach, from the rumors, it didn't appear that he was as liked as maybe some other people in the NHL.
Yeah.
So when he's calling up whatever San Jose's GM and being like, let's make a deal, maybe they're like, no thanks, because I don't want to do business with you.
Yeah.
So how many kids lost out on those opportunities because people just didn't have good relationships? Whereas now with a YouTube or those other platforms, they might not have that same relationship, but they can see the talents and the abilities of these kids coming up.
Yeah.
And so they go, oh, okay. And you can just access those people. Exactly. You can reach out to that person and kind of skip the middleman.
I see what you're saying. It's kind of a free market. Truly,
it's a free market.
Right? And especially for something arts and entertainment in terms